Hi, everybody. Stacy Lynn here. I wanted to come in here today and do a short little commentary as I've been thinking about some things, and I do have a show planned for this week. I have a great guest coming up on the show, which you'll see in a few days. But for now, I wanted to share with you something that I've been thinking about. I heard a quote recently, and the quote is from Carl Jung, who said, "Thinking is difficult. That's why most people judge. Thinking is difficult. That's why most people judge." I agree with that, and I have to tell you that one of the reasons why I wanted to do this commentary today is because recently it has come to my attention some news that's very unsettling, right? I mean, there's a lot of unsettling news out there, but when I read certain things and I share them with my email list or friends in general, I get a lot of responses. In fact, a number of years ago, and I'm talking almost 20 years ago, when I first started covering uh, Christian activist, political, social issues, let's just say whatever falls under that umbrella, I remember sending emails to my Christian subscribers on my Christian email list, and I would get really nasty responses back. And from some of these people were actually from my church. They knew me in person. And they would write back some really mean email and tell me to shut up. They would tell me to stop sending this stuff to them, and they didn't want to know about it. I recently had somebody who I used to go to church with, when I told him that Fox News was pretty liberal and they weren't a friend of the Republican Party as much as he thought, he told me, yeah, well, let's just say what he said wasn't very nice, okay? And I'm like, hey, I'm just the messenger, okay? I'm just the messenger. I'm just trying to tell people what's really going on. And so, that quote from Carl Jung, you know, what I just said, thinking is difficult, that's why most people judge, is so true. Because when you're confronted with difficult issues, right? When you're confronted with an issue that you don't want to think about, you're quick to judge. When you're really confronted with something that corners you, and what I mean by that is it brings conviction to you, it actually warrants a response. It's easier to lash out and to judge than to really think about the consequences. Case in point, not too long ago, I was attending a number of Zoom meetings for the Gay Pride Month. I went to these meetings because I wanted to sit in and listen to the gay community, the transgender community, the drag queen community, all of that, because I've looked at this issue for a very long time. And I thought, you know what? I'm kind of out of date. I haven't been to any of their meetings in a long time, so maybe I should go and check some out. So I did. I spent probably close to 10 hours last month in Zoom meetings with the gay activist community all over the world. And what I came out with was a very different picture than what we see being promoted in the media. And the short version of it is that on the outside, they're yelling and screaming and celebrating, but behind closed doors, there's none of that. Behind closed doors, they're very sad people. Behind closed doors, they're mad at corporations in London and in America. They're mad. They're mad because the corporations have co-opted their cause and they don't care about them as people. They're mad, some of them, because they've mutilated their bodies and they were lied to. They're sad. They're really sad, actually. But nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about the lie that is being promoted. Nobody wants to look at the abuse and what's going on, even with kids, right? You know, I cannot tell you how many times I have shared my story here on my show and in person. And I have shared some of the horrific abuse I went through, not only from the church, but also at the hands of adults growing up. And you know what always happens? One of two things happens. Either A, people look at me and they're like, wow, you've overcome so much. Or B, it's completely ignored, dismissed, no comment whatsoever. And I have to say, there are times when I get so annoyed and frustrated because I'm like, you know what? I'm not trying to win an award for who's been the most abused. But what I'm trying to do is wake people up to the fact that abuse is very real. And that's the hidden monster behind that whole agenda. Nobody wants to talk about it, though. Nobody wants to look at it. Nobody wants to look at the lie that people are told. And it personally drives me crazy. It personally drives me crazy because it's like, I remember when all of a sudden I realized I was being lied to about a lot of things. When Jesus came into my life, he illuminated my life. He changed my life. He showed me what the truth is. And, you know, and I realized to coin to use the old title of a M. Scott Peck book, People of the Lie, that there were people of the lie. And that these people were people of the lie. And if the last couple of years hasn't shown you anything, one thing it should show you is that the world is being run by people of the lie. People who lie. We have, if I were to tell you that there is a global pandemic of birds that have been experimented on with an experimental drug to see, if these birds would be protected from, other diseases that birds get. And then tell you on the one hand, research was showing, things are super great. But then behind the scenes, there's been uncovered all this stuff that there's cancers and there's, brain tumors, and there's, these birds are dying suddenly of heart issues, and they're being taken to the vet more often than they probably should be. Millions and millions and millions of these birds have died, and yet nobody's talking about it. Well, if you're anything like me, you'd be like totally sad because you love birds. I totally love birds. Cardinals are like my favorite bird. I love birds. And yet that's what's happening with people. And the people that it's happening to are the people who bought the lie of the media. And it's being documented all over the place. But if you talk about it, people get mad at you. They shoot you as the messenger. My question to you, though, is this. Does it matter if you're impacted by it or not? Does it matter to you if you've been impacted by the lie? And I would posit, to me, it does. It matters to me. It matters to me when people lie to me. It matters to me in my relationships when people are lying to me. If they say one thing and they do another, I'm not a real happy person, especially if I bust them in the lie, right? I don't like to stay in relationships with people who lie to me. I don't like to stay in relationships with people who say one thing and then they do another, or they pretend that they're one way, but then behind the scenes, they're two-faced, And yet a lot of people tend to give these people chances. right? I mean, I have studied narcissistic abuse for quite some time because my mother was a classic malignant narcissist. And, I've looked at family systems and how family systems are impacted by the liars, by the people who are one way here, but they're another way here. And it's not just in secular homes, it's not just in, corporations, it's in the church. It's in the church. I just got done watching a testimony of somebody who was talking about how they deconstructed their faith after they were hurt in the church. Very first place I ever went to get help as a child was the church. And I was told to go to the school system instead and get help because the pastor didn't want to deal with the fact that I was being abused. He didn't want to get his hands dirty. And that's part of the problem today. Part of the problem today is that we don't want to get our hands dirty because it requires effort, right? It's so much easier to judge people, to attack people, and to not think about the consequences. It's not my problem, So going back to that quote from Carl Jung, thinking is difficult. That's why most people judge. It's easier to get mad and judge than it is to actually think through issues. So as a Christian, my question is, do you believe what you believe? I heard somebody say recently, if you're somebody who's a believer, if you believe that Jesus Christ rose from the dead and he conquered death, if you believe that he fed 5,000 men and women and children with just a few loaves of bread and a couple of fishes, if you believe that Jonah was swallowed by a big fish, if you believe that God created the world with a word, then do you believe that you can make a difference? I want to encourage you, and this is really the point of this. I want to encourage you to consider making the difference in one person's life, just one. I have somebody very dear and near to me, someone who means the absolute world to me. And she has mentored me, she's loved me, she's seen me through hell and back. And she's made all the difference in my life. Without this person in my life, I would not be who I am. I'm blessed, though. I have a couple people that have made a huge impact in my life. But I want to challenge you today. Consider one person that you can influence for the truth. One person that you can tell the truth, that they'll hear it. One person that you can nurture and love, whether that's, somebody close to you or online, it doesn't matter. But you can really make a difference for the truth, which is Christ. And as Christians, if we're being silent about these issues, then I think we're being disobedient. Because you know what? The gospel was sent to the whole world, and the gospel is what changes people's lives. Jesus is who changes people's lives. And so I want you to know that, there's a need for you to become bold in your faith and to stand up, because it's not going to get any better. Things might turn around for a while, but honestly, it's not going to get any better for the believers. The days get darker. Christian persecution is going to be on the rise even more. And you are going to get an opportunity to pick up your cross daily and figure out if you're going to deny Christ or if you're going to stand for him. In the coming weeks, I plan on having a couple of Christians on my show who've been persecuted for their faith. And this week, I'm actually having a friend on the show. I haven't had an on in quite some time, actually, who has been making a difference and who has taken the insults on the chops for many decades, but yet she's still standing. You know what? It's time we all stand. It's time for the people of the truth to speak out to the people of the lie. and to show the people of the lie who the person who is the truth is. And so I just wanted to share that with you today. And I want to ask that you would continue to share this out, share with your friends, and pray. And remember more than anything that the Lord Jesus Christ loves you, that He is truth. He is the way, the truth, and the life. And no one comes to the Father but by Him. And you know what? What He stands for is good. So make sure that you're practicing and following the truth today. And that will give you all the courage you need to stand up to and expose people of the lie. And I think my cat concurs. Thanks for watching.